decline in markets that we saw on Monday was probably a bit of an overreaction. I mean, that is not definitely the case, but because of the action we've seen in the Asian session today in the markets, we're certainly getting that kind of indicator. Plus the fact that there are other indicators in the US economy, for example, which have been a little stronger. We do have certainly slowing through a lot of the global economy, including in China, a very important market, of course, for Australia. But that was to be expected given that economies are reacting, for the most part, to tighter monetary policy, which has been put in place over the last 2 years. That was very deliberate, of course, by central banks who are trying to get that inflation pressure out of the economy. So far, it looks like a soft landing. It's being delivered as a soft landing so far, and I think that talk of global recession is overdone.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, it does seem to change from month to month, but what and when do you believe will be the RBA's next move on rates? Is it going to be down?
I do think it will be down. I think that they're getting enough progress on inflation coming down that they won't need to tighten again. When it happens is, of course, the difficult question. The markets have gotten pretty excited about the possibility that on the back of last week's data, there could be a rate cut before the end of the year, and certainly some forecasters in the market are looking for that. But I think that the inflationary pressures are just that little bit too buoyant at the moment across the economy, and the Reserve Bank is not going to want to let that get away. They're very determined to get inflation back into the target band. It's really important they do because their credibility depends on it, and therefore I think it's probably going to be more of a 2025 scenario before we see a rate cut from the Reserve Bank.
That is Sherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY Oceania, speaking to me a little earlier, just after that interest rates decision. Now, it's day 3 of the defamation trial involving Western Australian Senator Linda Reynolds and her former employee Brittany Higgins. Senator Reynolds alleges Ms Higgins defamed her in social media posts published in 2023. The posts relate to Senator Reynolds' handling of Ms Higgins' alleged rape in Parliament House in 2019. Linda Reynolds has today told a court that she was angry and hurt by a suggestion that she tried to cover up Brittany Higgins' rape allegation. Our reporter Rebecca Trigger is covering the case in Perth and joins us now. Rebecca, remind us of the background here.
Good afternoon. Well, this is a case that has extensive background. Now, if I can take you back to 2019, of course, this all began over an incident where Miss Higgins alleges she was raped by her then colleague, Bruce Lerman, in the Senator's office in Parliament House after a night out drinking. Now, Mr. Lerman did have criminal proceedings brought against him. However, they were discontinued because of juror misconduct. However, a separate civil trial did find that on the balance of probabilities, Mr. Lerman did rape Brittany Higgins that night in Parliament House. Now, this trial, obviously fast forward 5 years, relates to comments made by Miss Higgins about the handling of that allegation by her then employer, Senator Reynolds, at that time.
And what has the Senator told the court today?
Well, today's really been focused on the media coverage that broke 2 years after the incident. So in 2021, Miss Higgins took part in a series of interviews with Channel 10's The Project and News.com with Samantha Maiden. And Senator Reynolds has been giving evidence about sort of how the news broke and how that played out for her. Now, we've heard that the accounts given by Miss Higgins simply didn't accord with Senator Reynolds' recollection of what happened in the aftermath of those events. Miss Higgins has alleged that Senator Reynolds effectively mishandled the situation in a number of ways. She says that the Senator met with her and in the office where the alleged rape took place, and that was a bad decision on her part. She also says that Miss Higgins alleges that she was forced to choose between her job and pursuing the rape allegations with the police, something that Senator Reynolds vehemently denies. She's told the court today that Miss Higgins was always reassured that she would have a job, and in fact was given a great deal of flexibility and choice around what she wanted to do after those allegations. Senator Reynolds was made aware of those allegations. We've also heard from, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
We've also heard from Senator Reynolds that she was incredibly angry and incredibly hurt when she read those stories, particularly because they focused on her handling of this as a gender issue. We've heard in earlier days that Senator Reynolds' record as someone who's an advocate for gender equality, and that in this particular issue, Ms Higgins so really couldn't have picked a worse issue to try to criticise the senator on. Senator Reynolds telling the court it's such an abhorrent thing to say to any woman that you've been mistreated and that somehow you've ignored a rape allegation. You've not only ignored that, but you've tried to cover it up. She says the effect on her was really significant. She experienced health issues after she was grilled in Parliament about her handling of the situation. In fact, describing at one point how she left the Senate and sort of collapsed in her office in tears. She was experiencing heart issues at the time. So she's also denied certain allegations by Ms Higgins, including that she told her in a meeting shortly after the alleged rape that this was just something women go through. She says she flatly denies that. And however, Ms Higgins claims that did happen, and it was actually evidence of the senator diminishing her trauma and mishandling the situation.
And what's this issue about the fundraiser?
Well, this is a case that's really centred on social media posts. So obviously the senator is suing Ms Higgins over a series of posts that she made between 2022 and 2024. But yesterday, as Senator Reynolds took the stand, Ms Higgins shared another post. This was about a book that explores issues of the law being used to silence victims of rape allegations. Victims of rape. And Senator Reynolds' lawyers have taken issue with this, saying that, it could be construed as a comment on the proceedings, and they're suggesting they'll add it to the statement of claim as an aggravating factor. But also there's been a post shared yesterday, again around the same time that Senator Reynolds took the stand, by a advocate for sexual assault victims. Now, she's seeking to raise funds for Ms Higgins' legal and medical costs. However, Senator Reynolds' lawyers have raised concerns that there may be some kind of coordination between Ms Higgins and this advocate in the sharing of these posts, and they've now sought a subpoena to try to get copies of any communications between Ms Higgins and this advocate to sort of check whether or not they've tried to share these posts in an attempt to, in the lawyer's words, mislead the public about the real heart of this case. Senator has always said that she doesn't disbelieve the allegations that Ms Higgins made. It's simply that about being raped in Parliament House, but she does contest her memory of how it was handled in the aftermath.
Okay, Rebecca, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's our reporter, Rebecca Trigger in Perth. Sport coming your way shortly, but let's talk a bit of sport. Sometimes it's tough being a little sister, but now Australia's Naomi Fox has come out of the shadow of her gold-encrusted older sister Jess and cemented her own place in sporting history. Naomi emerged the victor in the women's kayak cross final, adding a third gold medal to the fantastic Fox's Paris haul.